Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, January the 20th, 2021, and I want to be starting talking about the inauguration of Biden. And today is really happy day in America, and I'm really happy that uh, he will make America really look good in the next 4 years. We're gonna have a trade deal, right? The pipeline is a problem now because of Jason Kenney, but really pipeline is not something that we see it safe or something that it needs a lot of work, especially doing pipeline and doing all type of stuff that takes a lot of work and a lot of effort doing it, right? But the next 4 years, we're gonna see America is better with vaccines. There's already things that Ray Biden is getting a head start on it in the next couple of days, and we will see some progress, right? So he's the 46th president of the United States starting today, and he took office today as the president of the United States, and we have Vice President Kamala Harris that will be the vice president of taking over the office, and that will be a new thing, right? And that's really cool to see that. So Joe Biden becomes the 46th president of the United States on Wednesday, declaring that democracy has prevailed and as he took the helm of a deeply divided nation and inherited a confluence of crises greatly than any faced by his predecessors. Biden sworn in at 11:49 a.m. Eastern Time used a 21-minute inaugurational address to call for unity and offer an optimistic message that America can get through dark moments by working together. The ceremonies were scaled back due to the coronavirus pandemic, with heightened security measures arising from the Capitol rise exactly 2 weeks ago. Truly a crucial age. America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge, Biden said earlier in his address. Today we celebrate the Trump not a candidate, but the cause of democracy. Biden pivoted the challenge ahead, acknowledged the surging virus that has claimed more than 400,000 lives in the United States and become a polarized issue. Unlike in most other countries, Biden looked out over a capital city dotted with empty storefronts that arrested to the pandemic deeply economic toll and where summer protests laid bare the nation renewed. Those 400,000 fellow Americans, moms, dad, husband, wife, sons, daughter, friends, neighbors, and co-workers will honor them by becoming the people and nation we know we can and should be, he said before asking for silence of prayer on the behalf. Biden called on America to overcome division, declaring that without unity there is no peace. We must end this uncivil war that pits red versus blue, role reverse urban, conservative versus liberal, he said. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts. There was, he said, much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation history have been more challenged or found a time more challenging or difficult than the time we were in now. Biden also hailed the historic achievement of Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris took the oath administered by the Supreme Court of Justice, becoming the first Black, South Asian, and female vice president. Harris, who spent some of her teen years in Montreal, was said to be using a Bible in the swearing-in ceremony and belonged in the Marshall, the first Black Supreme Court justice. Biden and his wife Jill began the day by attending a service at Washington Cathedral of Saint Matthew, along with Harris and her husband, Douglas. Those in the attendance including both Senate leader, Republican Mitch McConnell and Democratic Chuck Schumer, as well as Democrat House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy. Biden is only the second Catholic president in the U.S. history after John F. Kennedy, and Saint Matthew is said of the Catholic of Washington. A Capitol Police officer hailed it as hero for his action during the January 6th insurrection. At the time, Capitol accompanied Harris and Biden at the West Front. Officer Goodman, a black man, confronted the overwhelming white and led them away from the Senate chambers. Vice President Mike Pence was the highest-ranking official from Donald Trump administration to attend the inauguration, but not Trump, the first ongoing president to skip the ceremony since Andrew Johnson more than a century and a half ago. Biden used a Bible for his swearing-in and that has been his final since at least 1893, several inches thick. In his same Bible he used twice when swearing in as a vice president and 7 times as a senator for Delaware. Although the festival were radical scaled down to the pandemic as well as security threats, a steady stream, a list name signed on the headline by Lady Gaga singing the national anthem with Jennifer Lopez, This Land is Our Land and America the Beautiful and Garth Brooks performing Amazing Garth. An innovation was given by the Rev. A former Georgetown University president pledged. Biden-Harris and their spouse paused on the step of the U.S. Capitol while leaving to observe the procession of ceremonially military. Several group had passage stepped to military. So today he got the office. He's the official president of America now, and that's really good. So next year, there's a lot of things that Biden wants to do in the next 4 years, including that the Paris. He wants to back away from the Paris. Also, he wants to get rid of the Keystone XL in Alberta, while Premier Jason Kenney is planning to announce this afternoon about the Keystone XL. But that's one of the things that Premier will not agree um, with the American president, the incoming president, and there will be issues with the Keystone XL because Alberta will not be able to build their oil anymore, and really we don't need really oil, but our premier really needs the oil, and he wants uh, the president of America to actually um, he wants Biden to approve the oil and making sure that it allows it to expand in Alberta. But obviously, Jason Kenney doesn't want that kind of thing, and that's what's happening now, right? Um, so our premier might have issues with Biden administration, and that won't be good. Joe Biden swears in as the U.S. president calls on America to end uncivil war. Joe Biden became the 46th. There was, he said, much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation history been more challenged or found the time more challenging or difficult than the time we're in now. Biden also hailed it. Um, I read that. I want to read the speech of what he said because it was a speech of it. Yeah, for example, this pipeline it will be a big issue in Alberta. So T Energy suspends work on 8 billion Keystone XL pipeline as Biden plans to scrap permit today. New president will issue a sweeping order tackling climate change, which includes revoking pipeline permits. TS Energy says it suspended working on the Keystone XL pipeline backed by Alberta taxpayers to the tune of at least 1.5 billion in anticipation of the incoming U.S. President Joe Biden revoking the presidential permit on Wednesday. Biden expected to revoke the permit for Calgary-based TC Energy Pipeline in flurry of executive order after being sworn in as the 46th U.S. president on Wednesday. The Alberta government agreed last year to invest 1.5 billion as equity in the project plus billions more in loans guarantees. As a result, the Canadian leg of project has been under constitution for several months with 1,000 workers southeast Alberta. The move was expected as Biden issues sweeping order tackling climate change and begins the process of re-entering the Paris Climate record. In a statement released Wednesday morning, the TS Energy said it was disappointed in the move and warned it would lead to the layoff of thousands and unionized workers. TS Energy will review the decision in the application and consider its option. The statements read, however, as a result of the expected reconvention of the presidential permit and advancement of project will be suspended. The company said the decision would overturn and present comprehensive regulatory process that lasts more than a decade. The Calgary-based company struck a deal with four labor unions to build the pipeline and has an agreement in place with five indigenous tribes to take a roughly 785 million ownership stake. The Progressive Contract Association of Canada said a new release it is disappointed that Biden is putting politics before reason. We're disappointed that the new president has lost sight of huge economic and strategic advantage of this project, said PCAC President Paul Chung. Pulling the plug of the major project hours after taking office is a rocky starting point for resetting Canada and US relations. The association, whose member companies employs thousands of Alberta and BC construction workers, said the pipeline would have generated as many as 60,000 direct and indirect jobs in Canada and the United States. In the completed, the 1,897-kilometer pipeline, first announced in 2005, would carry 83 million thousand barrels of crude a day from the oil sands in Alberta to Nebraska. It would then connect with the original Keystone pipeline that runs to the U.S. Gulf Coast. Canadian producers who have struggled for years from low price, partly related in sometimes pipelines have long supported KXL. In a statement, the Suncor Energy said in a backed expanding market access to the U.S. Through pipeline like XL, which would provide responding source oil to the U.S. for the benefit of the U.S. customers. But Canada Energy Regulator report in November said Western Canadian crude exports are expected to remain below total pipeline capacity over the next 30 years if KXL and two other projects proceed. Environmental group to question the need for all three. For months, Biden had said he intended to cancel the project if elected. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he raised the issue with Biden prior to the inauguration and Canada supports for the project, but Canada ambassador to the U.S. Kristen Hellman sounds disappointed too, but resigned to the decision on Wednesday. I think the president has made his decision and we respect that. That's the decision he made, she said. He has made during his campaign and he lived up that comment. And I think we have to accept that and move forward. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney, meanwhile, he has said revoking the permit would damage the US-Canada relationship and he thinks Alberta could have legal options to reoccupy taxpayer money should the permit be cancelled. Kenney said Sunday that should the US repeal the permit, So I think of Albertans were hoping that maybe this could just kind of slide by the pipeline would get built, said Anderson. The Obama administration rejected in 2015, prompting the TC Energy in 2016 to launch a lawsuit and multi-billion dollar North America Free Trade Agreement claim against the U.S. government. The company charged course after Donald Trump reviewed it once he became president for 4 years and gave it strong support. Construction has already started in the U.S. TC could now take similar actions in order to prevent walking away from Keystone XL empty-handed after a dozen years of setback, billions of dollars spent, and thousands of pages of filtering. There's a big problem now with the oil company, and I don't know. Biden doesn't want it, and it's a big problem. For me, I don't even see the oil as safe at all because we don't really need oil in any way. And US President Joe Biden full inauguration speech: "We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue," Biden said in a call to action. Chief of Justice Robert, Vice President Kamala Harris, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schmuzer, Leader McConnell, Vice President Pence, and my distinguished guests of my fellow Americans, this is America Day. This is Democracy Day and day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve through a crucible for ages. America has been tested anew and America has risen to the challenge. Today we celebrate the Trump, not the candidate, but the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard and will be heard, has been headed. We've learned again that democracy is a fragile and that dishonor, my friends, democracy has prevailed. So now on this hallowed ground, where just a few days ago violence sought to shake the Capitol very foundation, we come together as one nation under God, invisible, to carry out the peaceful transfer of power as we have more than 2 centuries. As we look ahead in our uniqueable America way, restless, bold, optimistic, and set our sights on the nation we know we can be and we must be. I thank my I thank both of my parties for their presence here today. I thank them for the bottom of my heart, and I know the resolveness of our Constitution and the strength of our nation, as does President Carter, who I spoke with last night, who cannot be with us today, but whom we salute for his lifetime service. I've just taken a scared oath each of those patriots have taken, the oath first sworn by George Washington. But the American story depends not any of one of us, not some of us, but all of us. One we can, the people who seek a more perfect union. This is a great nation. We are good people, and over the centuries, through storms, in peace and war, we've come so far, but we'll still have far to go. We'll press forward with speed and urgency, for we have much to do in this winter of peril and significant possibilities, much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation history have been more challenged or found a time more challenging or difficult than the time we are in now. Once in the century virus that silently stalked the country has taken as many lives in one year as America lost in all of World War II. Millions of jobs have been lost, hundreds of thousands businesses closed, a cry for radical justice, some 400 years in making moves to us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer. The cry for survival comes from the planet itself, a cry that can be any more desperate or any more clear. and now a rise of political extremism, while supremacy, domestic terrorism that we must confront and we will defeat. To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America requires so much more than words. It requires most exclusive of all things in democracy, unity, unity. In another January of New Year's in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, and quote, "If my name ever goes down into history, it will be for this act, and my whole soul is in it. My whole soul is in it today on this January day. My whole soul is in this, bringing America together, unity our people, uniting our nation, and I ask every American to join me in the cause, uniting to fight the foes we face anger and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, diseases, jobless, and hopelessness. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrong. We can put people to work in jobs. We can teach our children in safe school. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make healthcare secure for all. We can deliver racial justice and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world. I know speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy these days. I know the forces that divide us are deeply and they are real, but I also know they are not new. Our history has been a constant struggle politically, and racism, nativism, fear, demonization have long torn us apart. The battle is, and victory is never assured. Through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War 9/11, through struggles, sacrifices, and setbacks, our better angles have always prevailed. Each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward, and we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as advisories, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity there is no peace, only bitterness and pure fury, no progress, only exhausting outrage, no nation, only a state of chaos. This is our historic moments of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward, and we must meet this moment as the United States of America. If we do that, I guarantee you we will not fail. We have never, ever, ever failed in America when we have acted together. And so today, at this time in place, let's start afresh. All of us, let's begin to listen to one another again, hear one another, see one another, show respect to one another. Politics doesn't have to be breaking, for destroying everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for a total war, and we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured. My fellow Americans, we have to be different than this. America has to be better than this, and I believe America is so much better than this. Just look around here. We stand in the shadow of the Capitol dome, as we mentioned earlier, completed aimed the Civil War when the Union itself was literally hanging in the balance. Yet we've endured, we prevailed here, we stand looking out on the great mill where Dr. King spoke of his dream. Here we stand, where 108 years ago, at another inauguration, thousands of protesters tried to block brave women marching for the right to vote. And today we mark and swearing in of the first woman in America history elected to the national office, Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't tell me things can't change. Here we stand across the podium and the cemetery where heroes who gave the last full measure of devotion, rest, peace. And here we stand just days after the rioters mobbed through. They could use violence to silence the will of the people, to stop the work of our democracy, to drive us from these scared grounds. It did not happen. It will never happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever, not ever. To all of those who supported our campaign, I humbled by the faith you have placed in us. To all of those who did not support us, let me say this: hear me out. As we move forward, take a measure of me and my heart if you still disagree. So that's democracy, that's America, that's the right to descend peaceful with a gradual of our republic in perhaps this nation's greatest strength. Yet hear me clearly, disagreements must not lead. And I pledge this to you: I will be a president of all Americans, and I promise you I will fight as hard for those who did not support me as for those who did. Many centuries ago, Saint Augustine, a saint in my church, wrote that people was a multitude defined by the commons objective of their love. What are the common objectives we as Americans love that define us as American? I think we know: opportunity, security, liberty, dignity, respect, honor, and yet the truth. Recent weeks and months have taught us painful lessons. There is truth and there are lies, lies told of power and for profit, and each of us has a duty and responsibility as citizens, as Americans, and especially as leaders, leaders who have pledged to honor our Constitution and protect our nation, to defend the truth and defend the lies. Look, I understand that many of my fellow Americans Look, I understand that many of my fellow Americans view the future with fear, and I understand their worry about their jobs. I understand, like my dad, they lay in bed starting at the night, starting at the ceiling, wondering, can I keep my health care? Can I pay my mortgage? Thinking about their families, about what comes next. I promise you, I get it. But the answer is not to turn inward, to retreat into competing, the distrusting those who don't look like you, or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same source as you do. We must end the uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, or conservative uh, versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of handling out our hearts, if we show a little tolerance and humility, and if we are willing to stand in other person's shoes, as mom would say, just for a moment, stand in their shoes. Because here's the thing about life: there's not accounting for what fate will deal with you. Some days when you need a hand, there are other days when we are called to lend a hand. That is how it has to be, and that is what do for one another. And if we are this way, our country will be stronger, more ready for the future, and we will disagree. My fellow Americans, in the work ahead of us, we are going to need each other. We need all our strength to preserve through this dark winter we are entering. That may be the toughest and deadliest period of virus. We must set aside politics and finally face this pandemic as one nation. And I promise you this: as Bible said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy in the morning. We will get through this together. Look, folks, all of my colleagues I have served with in this House and Senate up here, we all understand the world is watching all of us. So here is my message to those beyond our borders. America has been tested and we've come out stronger for it. We will repair our alliance and engage with the world once again, not to meet yesterday challenge, but today's and tomorrow's challenge. and we will lead not merely by example of power, by power of our example. We will be strong and trusted partner for peace, progress, and security. Look, you will all know we've been through so much in this nation, and my first act as a president, I'd like to ask you to join me in a moment of silence prayer. Remember all those who lost this past year to the pandemic, those 400,000 fellow Americans, moms, dads, husbands, wives, daughters, friends, neighbors, and co-workers. We will honor them by becoming the people in the nation we will know we can and should be. So I ask you, let's say a silent prayer for those who lost their lives and those left behind and for our country. Folks, this is a time of testing. We face an attack on our democracy and on truth, a raging virus, growing inequality, and sting of systemic racism, a climate in crisis, America's role in the world. Any one of these would be enough to challenge us in a profound ways. But the fact is we face them in all at once, presenting this nation with a one of the gravest responsibilities we have. Now we're going to be tested. Are we going to step up, all of us? It is time for boldness, for there is so much to do, and this is a certain. I promise you, we will be judged, you and I, by how we resolve these crises of our era. Will will we rise in the occasion, in the question, will be masters this rare and difficult honor? We will meet our obligations and pass along a new and better world to our children. I believe we must. I'm sure do as well. I believe we will, and when we do well, I write the next great chapter in the history of the United States of America, the America story, a story that might sound something like a song that means a lot to me. It's called America Anthem. There is one verse that stands out, at least for me, and it goes like this. The work and the prayers of century have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let me know in my heart when my days are through America. America, I give my best to you. Let us add our own work and prayers to the unfolding story of our great nation. If we do this, then we must. Our days are through our children, and our children will say of us, they gave their best, they did their duty, and they healed a broken land. A fellow American, my fellow Americans, I closed today when I began with a scared oath before God and all of you. I give you my word. I will always level up with you. I will defend the Constitution. I will defend our democracy. I'll defend America, and I will give all of you keep everything you I do in your service, thinking not of power but possibilities, not of personal interest but the public good. And together we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness, a story of density and dignity, love and hearing, greatness and godness. May this be the story that guides us, the story that inspires us, and the story that tells us ages yet to come. That we answered the call of history, we met the moment. Democracy and hope, truth and justice did not die on our watch, but thrived. The Americans secured liberty at home and stood once again as young to the world. This is what we owe our forebears, one another, and generations to follow. So, with purpose and result, we turn to those tasks of our time, sustained by faith, driven by conviction, devoted to one another in the country we love with all our hearts. May God bless America and may God protect our troops. Thank you, America. So this is Biden's inauguration speech, and it sounds really good. And he's willing to create jobs. He's willing to make build America, and he has a point to that. America, in the past 4 years, we had violence, we had all type of chaos. This is the break. This is the day of the America. This is the celebration of America. And now things in America now is going to rise, and things are going to be good. We can have good deals with America, for especially when it comes to Canada, um, especially when it comes to the tariffs and stuff. And then NAFTA, we can have good deals with those stuff. Um, the pipeline is the only issue we have now because Jason Kenney doesn't want to do the pipeline, and he wants to do the pipeline, and Biden scrapped the pipeline. He doesn't want to do the pipeline because he doesn't see a pipeline as a safe energy. And I agree that we don't need to do pipelines. It's not safe for our country. We don't need it in Alberta, and we don't need it, right? So there's issues now with Kenny and Biden that have issues with each other, and I don't know how that's going to go with that, right? Because he remade the decision today. He didn't wait, and he didn't have to wait long, and that's what something is, right? And Jason Kenney is planning to speak later on he is planning to speak later on around uh, 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in 2 hours or 1 hour. He's going to speak and respond to the Keystone XL because that was just announced this morning. The company, they're disappointed because they wanted that's how they make money now, right? So the oil field really they're not going to make much money now because Biden scrapped the oil field, the pipeline, and what's going to happen, right? So I don't know how it's gonna. But other than that, other than the pipeline, we have other good relationship. There will be good relationship with America now because things should be getting better, right? And America will be different now in the next 4 years. We're going to be looking at a different kind of America, and I hope really things will go well. And I'm happy Joe Biden won because really it was hectic 4 years of Donald Trump and the handling, especially Canada had issues with the NAFTA. With we didn't get the NAFTA. We had the steel, and then what happened last week, 2 weeks ago, and we talked about right now, right? And but what Biden he gave the speech today is really a clear speech that Americans should not be fighting with each other, and Americans should be working together because this is democracy. The democracy is not to go and break it or to go damage it in any form of way, right? Because when people elected you, this is democracy. You have to stick with it, right? That's what it is, right? And if your party loses, it's not going fighting for power, right? Fighting whatever, because that's what Donald Trump did. He went and fought for power that he didn't deserve, and people he didn't even win it. He got some votes, but people not every American elected for him. So you can't go over democracy, especially when you are running for an election. You're running for anything. If you lose, you have to accept the loss. Doesn't matter what. Going overstepping democracy and damaging democracy is not the solution here. Just damaging the constitution and damaging democracy, and that's what uh, exactly what Donald Trump did in the next 4 years. So I'm happy that Biden won today, and I'm thinking, yeah, America's gonna have a good future. Like how now when we had Stephen Harper in the last 8 years, it was a disaster in Canada. Canada wasn't good going right, and Canada's not much divided as America. That's true, right? We still have Trump supporters that are really upset because of what happened. But I'm just saying we will see that America will be in the next 4 years. We are going to be looking at a different kind of America, and I wish and I hope, yeah, Biden. I think he will be a really good president for America, and he will take care of it. And I believe that because when we had Barack Obama, he was good too. I'm really a Democratic supportive, but I see that he will create jobs like he said. He will make sure that unity is unifies. He's gonna deliver the vaccines. There's a lot of priority lists that he will do in the next 4 years, right? And like I said, there will be accomplishment. Might not be much accomplishment because Trump damaged a lot of things in the 4 years. When the government comes and damages a lot of things in 4 years, it's hard to accomplish a lot, right? But he will do as much as they can. He might even be elected again if people like him, right? But we know America is divided, so I really don't know the situation in America, how things are going to be. But um, yeah, I wish I congratulate Biden, and I wish, yeah, I hope, and his vice president who is going to be an excellent woman. She's the first black lady, and I respect that. And it will be a wonderful government that we're going to have in the next 4 years with real jobs creating real. Uh, we will have our NAFTA even, right? We're not going to have any issues with America now because we have a liberal government and we have a democratic government, and they're going to go hand in hand together because they both have the same thinking and the same view. And when you have governments that have the same view and same thinking, things are going to go great. So we will. That's the idea. It's only the pipeline now that Jason Kenney has a problem because he just sees it that the pipeline, he can't do anything now about it because when Biden says no, who you are to go fight against Biden, right? He just doesn't see it as safe enough. And I agree. Like if I was him too, I will cancel pipeline because it's just not safe. It's just we don't need pipeline. I understand people who work in the oil field, they might need the pipeline, they might need whatever, but really pipeline is not safe. Oil I see is not safe. Now we are moving in a technology form. We are moving into a better technology form, and moving into a better form of technology. And I think now we have electrical cars in BC, and Ontario is also creating electrical cars, and we're seeing all type of stuff, right? So that's the future of vehicles and not oil, right? So that's what I'm saying. I don't know why our premier is so fighting with with the oil, but the oil we don't need it to be built because um, it's not safe enough, and he can't do anything. Obviously, today when he talks about the oil, the premier, he will not going to be impressed what Biden did today, and it does not matter. But uh, the oil will not be built. It doesn't matter what consequences Jason Kenney is going to give to Biden, but it is not going to make because the last couple of days, Jason Kenney said that Biden needs to respect the Keystone XL, or there will be consequences. So I guess now he's going to go with the consequences with the Biden administration, and that won't be easy. And that's not and he just went to office today, so it's not good. Doesn't look good now to cause problems when just a president got sworn in and went to office. And I just don't know what our premier is doing, but our premier is getting to leave too in the 4 years, right? Because that's what happens when political parties don't listen and they screw up. So what happened to Trump? It's going to the same thing is going to happen to Jason Kenney in the next 4 years, and that's not far away. In 2 years, his term is going to be done, and we're going to go back to the NDP government. Trust me. So we will see that, and we will see changes, and we will see those kind of things in the next 4 years, especially when it comes to Jason Kenney's government. He will go down in the hole, and that's what's going to happen. Anyways, I read um, the whole speech of Biden. I hope everybody enjoyed the speech, but he has a point. America needs to. We don't need to be in a war fighting with each other, like he said. America needs to be peaceful transition, and it needs to be in a good hands. And he has a point about that. So we're done with that, right? Now we're gonna be moving on, talking about uh, talking about conservative. This happened today too. So conservative have voted to expel Derek Sloan from caucus. Aaron O'Toole put his for ouster after learning Sloan received contribution from the nationalist Paul Former. Conservative MP today voted to expel Derek Sloan from caucus after the Eastern Ontario MP accepted a donation from a Northernist white nationalist. Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole initiated the ouster earlier this week after few emerged that Paul Former, who ties to white supremacist and neo-Nazi cause, have long been documented and had contribution of $131 to Sloan leadership campaign. Sloan fought against the vote, saying he was unaware of the source of the donation because uh, from useful his full name, uh, Frederick P. Former. Conservative voted by the secret ballot today, with a majority of MP voting to remove Sloan from their benches. In a statement issued this afternoon, O'Toole called the donation the last straw. The Conservative caucus voted to remove Derek Sloan not because of one specific event, but because of a pattern of destructive behavior involving multiple incidents and disrespect towards the Conservative team for over a year, he said. These actions have been a constant distraction from our effort to grow the party and focus on the work we need to do. Events of the past weeks were simply the last straw and led to our caucus making the decision it today. New Form contribution was first reported by Press Progressive, a non-profit new website funded by the left-leaning Institute. Sloan, who was elected in 2019, is represented in the riding of Hanston-Lexon and urged his team couldn't every donation to the leadership campaign last year. He also accused O'Toole of pointing out was accepted as a member of the party and voted it in 2020 leadership election without raising any red flag with the party official. In a statement to CBC News earlier this week, Conservative Party Director of Communication Corey Han said it was Sloan campaign that sold the party membership. He said the party would be revoking former members and the funds. Sloan pushed back on the argument, saying new members who signed up the membership through the leadership campaign website like his were directed to the party main website. Sloan has been a polarizing figure in Canadian politics, generating controversy with a socially conservative view on LGBTQ rights. He alarmed members of his own party in April when he posted a message and video on Facebook and Twitter claiming Chief Public Officer of Health Doctor Theresa Tam had failed Canadians during the pandemic and asking if she works for Canada or for China. Today move marks a shift in position for O'Toole during the leadership race. He took out Facebook and defended Sloan's place in the party, but in recent days O'Toole has said he wants to build a more inclusive Conservative party. Just hours before the donation news broke, he released a lengthy statement saying there is no place for the far rights in our party, and pushing back the Liberal attempt to link to his party to Trump-style politics. I'll have more to say on all of this in the coming of days. Hang in there. O'Toole stressed in his own statement that he did not vote to expel Sloan because he's social conservative. We have members of parliament of deep compassion, character, who like many Canadians draw strength for the faith. He said the Conservative Party is a big tent that reflects of all Canadians. People of all backgrounds have a place in our party. So that's what he said. So that's what happened. Um, so that's all I have for politics. I'll see if I have more. If not, I'm going to be moving on to Alberta now, talking about Alberta politics. Oh yeah, Trudeau party leader extends congratulations to new U.S. President Joe Biden, PM office to work together on pandemic climate change crisis. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and other political leaders are offering congratulations to Joe Biden after his inauguration as the 46th U.S. president. Trudeau said Canada and U.S. enjoy unique relationship built on shared common to democratic values, common interests, and strong economic and secure ties. Our two countries are more than neighbors; we are close friends, partners, and allies, he said. Canada and United States have worked side by side to tackle some of the greatest challenges we have faced in our history. We will continue to partnership as we fight the global COVID-19 pandemic and support a sustainable economic recovery that will build back better for everyone. We will also work together to advance climate action and clean economic growth, promote inclusive and diversity, and create good middle-class jobs and opportunities for our people while contributing to democracy, peace, and security at home and around the world. Deputy Prime Minister Christopher Freeland tweeted her congratulations to Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Canada looks forward to work with you to defeat COVID-19 pandemic while furthering our shared goals of strengthening democracy, exclusive growth, and free and fair trade, she wrote. Aaron also congratulates to President Biden and President and Vice President Kamala Harris on your inauguration. Looking forward to working together to get Canadians and Americans back to work. Jagmeet Singh, congratulations, President. Today marks an official end to the hate and division of our last 4 years, an opportunity to build a more exclusive and compassionate nation and world. Green Party leader Amal Paul called its historic day and an opportunity for Canada to forget a renewed relationship with the US on issues of mutual interest and concern such as protecting workers' rights and environment agreements. Paul said he welcomed Biden's promise to return the United States to the Paris Climate Agreement and to cancel the Keystone XL pipeline project. U.S. Chargé d'Affaires in Ottawa, Catherine Brew, issued a statement saying the U.S. Embassy and Consulate remains committed to strengthening and promoting relationship. We value our country, extraordinary partnership, and strong ties that bind our people together, she said. We look forward to continuing our deep collaboration with the Canadian government on issues importance including health, our shared border, defense and security, and economic prosperity. So that's what happened, and that's what happened in Canada. I wish also Biden, he will make peace with Canada. Things are going to go really well, and I wish him successful. And yeah, I'm really happy that he won the election, and I'm really happy that he's the president today. And it's really happy they it should make us all happy because last 4 years of America it was disaster, and it wasn't it was divided. Trump made it on civil war and made it people fighting with each other. Right, we the time of Barack Obama, we didn't have this kind of civil war. Those things were still divided that time, but now we can see things are more divided because of Trump, what he did in the last 4 years. Now Biden came, things are hopefully going to get better, and things should not be divided anymore. People need to get along, and even if you like a party, you just have to get over it, right? It's not every 4 years a party, the same party is going to be winning, right? And right, the party just needs to just keep trying because the election is like an exam. If you do well in an exam, or let's say you do one test well and next exam you fail, you can't say, oh, you're gonna fight with the teacher now and say, you know what, I failed the exam, but you still have to give me high mark. It doesn't work that way. You're gonna have to study more, put in more effort. So next time when you do the exam, you have the opportunity to get better. So election, one party is the same thing. If you lose an election, it's fine, but breaking democracy is like going and fighting with the teacher or arguing with the teacher or going beating up the teacher. It's the same thing as breaking democracy. So if that's unacceptable, breaking democracy is also unacceptable because if you lost, you accept the loss. It's not gonna hurt you, it's not gonna do anything for you, is it? But Trump didn't do that, and now his party are hating him, and he might not even run the next in 2024 because his party has bad reputation. Like he's a guy that is going to be known as broke democracy, went in the building and damaged it, and it's going to be known as history of a president that damaged America and ruined it really badly, right? So now it's peaceful now because Biden came to office. Now we have Biden administration. Things are going to get better, and things will get way better than before, and hopefully things right. Only the pipeline is going to be an issue with Jason Kenney, like I said. But other than that, everything else it will go hand in hand with. We're going to have, especially candidates, our Canadian government is going to have good relation with the American government, working together, like Trudeau said, and making sure that we work, we create jobs, and the same thinking as Trudeau. Trudeau wants to create jobs, Biden wants to create jobs. There's so many things that you can see Biden and Trudeau have in common, and that will make us because here now, so far, the Liberal government, people like the Liberal government here. Why? Because this is the kind of government we need. We don't need government that's chaos. So America's going to have the same kind of government, the government we have now. So that would be cool now to have two governments working together and no more issues, right? Like I said, America's more divided, but these people, even their supporters of Trump, they just need to get over it because this is an election, right? You can't say he's stolen whatever because it's not you the one who picked, it's the people who chose. So by you, even if you steal the election or you steal democracies, like you're stealing people's votes, that means people they voted, that means people don't have a say. That's what breaking democracy is. And that's what Trump did. And it was a tragic 4 years of America. And now America needs a break. America needs free. America needs break from all this tragic and disaster that America had to face in the 4 years, right? So America needs to rebuild, and America needs peace now, and it needs to be safe and doesn't need to be pushed around, right? So hopefully in the next 4 years we will see good with Biden, and I believe Biden he will do a good job. Barack Obama in the 4 years he did okay. He didn't damage America. He made it good, and the same thing of Barack Obama, and it will be good in the next 4 years to see America great and well good. And yes, it's a really happy day for America, and I'm really happy. And anybody who's watching my video should be happy about this because nobody should be in the side of Trump. This was a nightmare of America in the 4 years, and Americans need a break now. They need the violence to stop. They need everything to stop. We can't continue like this. America cannot continue with the violence, with the attack, with the discrimination, with all that. All this needs to stop. We had enough of 4 years of all this damage. America needs a break now. It needs uh, time. I mean, people need to get along together. People need to side up with each other. People need to come up with how to support each other rather than fighting against each other. Fighting is like because the last 4 years it's like we're fighting like I know usually countries they fight with each other, but you never have one nation fighting against each other. Never. And America in the last 4 years, the nation was fighting against each other because it was divided. So here it's divided too, right? But I'm saying they're more divided. So America needs to wake up and needs to not be more divided and needs to agree, right? Right? Because as long as people unite with each other, less violence are going to be approaching. But people are divided and people just fighting against each other. That's not how a country should unite, you know. So I hope everybody watching the video understands what I'm talking about because it's really important to that everybody was what I'm talking about is really important, and hopefully everybody understands what I'm exactly saying because it's really important that things should not be divided in any form of way. People need to get along with each other and understand how important it is, right, to do things. So hopefully that becomes hopefully really understandable, and hopefully everybody understands what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to be moving on to Edmonton and Alberta because I'm done with politics here. There's really not much. So I'm going to be moving Alberta, right? Jason Kenney is expected to talk later on if you're willing. I did not do the COVID-19 numbers. I'm going to do the COVID-19 numbers now. And then we move on to Alberta. I just want to start with the inauguration because that was the huge story today and just a happy day of Canada, right? What happened to the numbers? Okay, so Canada, we will talk about the vaccine, then the cases and numbers of Canada. So the vaccine, they have vaccines now. So vaccine, Canada has 68,8,368 doses of the vaccine. Total distributed is 89,007,440 that got distributed. Alberta has 95,243 doses that got distributed and 84,175 that got distributed. British Columbia has 92,369 that got doses they got doses 92,369, and they distributed around 13,003,475 that got distributed. Manitoba has 20,265 that got doses and 46,290 that got distributed. New Brunswick has 10,436 that got doses, 7,775 that got distributed. Newfoundland and Labrador has 8,549 that got doses, and 13,575 that got distributed. Nova Scotia has 9,175 that got doses and 23,000 that got distributed. Ontario has 23,007,918 that got doses and 27,007,050 that got distributed. Prince Edward Island has 5,910 that got administered and 8,250 that got distributed. Quebec has 1,017,004,260 that got doses, 23,007,125 that got distributed. Saskatchewan has 27,233 that got doses, 32,725 that got distributed. Northwest Territory has 1,893 that got doses, 7,200 that got distributed. Nunavut has 2,545 that got the doses and 6,000 that got distributed. Yukon has 2,590 that got doses and 7,200 that got distributed. So these are the cases. Now we're going to be moving on to cases. Canada has 11 million 9.1 cases. Change of cases in the last 7 days minus 19%. Total of cases per 100. We will get 1,800 and 1,893.8 that got that, and then 71,900 and 751 that got total cases. Alberta has 1,013.6 in the last 7 days, minus 20%. That change of cases last 7 days, 2,666 that got total per case. And British Columbia has 65.3 in the last 7 days. Manitoba has 87.2 in the last 7 days. And New Brunswick has 23.9 in the last 7 days. Newfoundland Labrador has 0.6 in the last 7 days. Nova Scotia has 22.8 in the last 7 days. Ontario has 13,007.5 in the last 7 days. Prince Edward Island has 4.4 in the last 7 days. Quebec has 15,002,000.9 that got in the last 7 days. Saskatchewan has 17,007,000.9 that in the last 7 days. 13.3 in the last 7 days. Nunavut has 0.0 and Yukon has 0.0. Hospitalization. Alberta in the last Canada in the last hospitalization. So changes in the hospitalization compared to the previous week. Canada has minus 3.8%. Alberta has minus 9.8%. British Columbia has minus 8.86%. Manitoba has minus 3.5%. New Brunswick has minus 66.7%. Newfoundland Labrador has 0.0, Nova Scotia has 0.0, Ontario has minus 2.9%, Prince Edward Island has 0.0, Quebec has minus 1.1%, Saskatchewan has minus 1.0%, Northwest Territory has 0.0, Nunavut has 0.0%, and Yukon has 0.0%. Testing, Canada has 43,009,683 that got tested. Alberta has 68,229,905 that got tested. British Columbia has 20,080 that got tested. Manitoba has 32,103,000.1 that got tested. New Brunswick has 16,005,097.8 that got tested. Newfoundland Labrador has 14,007,000.25 that got tested. Nova Scotia has 20,002,000 2009.1 that got tested. Ontario has 59 million and 87.6 that got tested. Pre-EI has 54,551.0 that got tested. Quebec has 31 million 1,045.7 that got tested. Saskatchewan has 595.4 that got tested. Northwest Territory has 19 million 2,000.2 that got tested, and Nunavut has 17,833.5 that got tested, and Yukon has 14,708.0 that got tested. So these are the cases that we have in Canada because it changed. Obviously, CBC did a changing graph, so that's why the graph is different. But these are the cases that we have in Alberta. Now we're going to be moving to Dr. Dina Hinshaw. Alberta reported 21 more COVID-19 deaths, 696 new cases of illness. A total of 95,243 doses of vaccine have been administered in the province. Alberta reported 21 more COVID-19 deaths on Wednesday and 669 new cases of the illness. A total of 95,243 doses of vaccine have been administered in the province. Laboratories conducted about 14,900 tests over the past 24 hours, putting the positive rate at about 4.5%. Hospitals in the province are treating 744 patients for the disease, including 124 in the ICU beds. It's important to remember that is the number of people currently in the hospital that I am providing, not all of those who have ever needed hospital care since the spring. Dr. Dina Hinshaw, the province Chief Medical Officer of Health, said Wednesday at a news conference. To put this into context, over the last 10 years, we have had an average of just over 1,500 total hospital admissions for influenza annual. For COVID-19, the comparable numbers comes from less than a year of data. More than 5,000 people have needed hospital care since the pandemic began for COVID-19 in Alberta. A total of 5,046 people with COVID-19 have been treated in the hospital since the pandemic began last March. That represents about 4.3% of the total cases, which is now sits at 11,007,767. Of those, 125,208 were listed as recovered, and 11,096 were active. Of the patients hospitalized with the illness, so far 809 have ended up in the ICU beds. Slightly more than 1% of all people infected have died. Alberta health data shows the illness have taken a far greater toll on older people. The data, 1,265 of the 1,484 reported deaths, 85% have been people. Nice blanket.
Did you took the marks?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
It got 80.